We are being crippled if we are living without unconditional love.
Mm, yeah.
And this has been a topic Rachel and I have been exploring. We think it's very, very true. We've been having conversations about the things you say that sound so big and ridiculous. And we were like, living without unconditional love is actually killing you.
Yeah.
But that sounds like such a big thing to say. So,
Yeah. Sensationalism.
sensationalism. Um, so, Rachel, because I
Yeah.
know that I've got a lot of thoughts on this. Rachel has a lot of thoughts on this, but I'm very curious to hear more of your thoughts on how living without unconditional love
Mm.
actually cripples us.
Yeah. Well, and it's a topic that's been coming up for me personally, and I don't even remember the last few weeks you and I were chatting, and then we were talking about becoming, and we're talking about these different elements, and I was just thinking about unconditional love and the importance of being
Mm-hmm.
loved, and then I saw Frank Anderson's post about trauma blocks love, but
Yeah.
love heals trauma.
Right.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like all these pieces tying in. And then you and I are chatting, and Rebecca and I are sitting there, and she says, well, what is unconditional love? And I was like, it's love without an agenda.
Hmm.
And it's actually what made it to our newsletter. Like this part of that conversation is what is in the newsletter. Um,
Yeah.
and I think it's the most powerful force in our lives.
Hmm.
I literally think it is. Because when I think about being loved without agendas, without conditions, without requirements, without regulations, without demands, it's like all the pressure, the anxiety, all the things that say I have to be this way fade away.
Yeah.
And then it's like I get to simply be. And when you were talking about the dynamics of becoming, of knowing ourselves, and what if my purpose was simply to exist and to practice being the best version of myself?
Hmm.
What if that was all? And it's like that is to me a form of unconditional love, because so much of what we experience says actually you're not allowed to do that. You're not
Right.
allowed to be. You're not allowed. People can love you somewhat, but they can't fully love you because you haven't met all the requirements. And I feel like there's
Hmm.
this weird societal vibe, and I would say I've experienced it in various cultures. There's always something where you need to be something other than what you are, and you need to
Yeah.
become something that fits the mold that other people have. And yet, it's like, well, instead of my focus being on all of that crap, right? On all those things, like,
Hmm.
what if I shift it back to being loved and accepting love and being loving? What if I put my energy and my time into that? Because it's like when
Hmm.
I go into that space, it's like my world lights up. It's like
Yeah.
all of a sudden, it's like the things that my kids do to drive me crazy. It's like when I love them without the thoughts of those things, it
Hmm.
is one of the most overwhelming, powerful sensations I feel. And it's the same when I
Hmm.
look at myself and I apply that same acceptance. And it's not like, I feel like sometimes when we talk about acceptance, it's like, well, we just have to kind of accept it. You're a jerk.
Right.
We're going to accept. And it's like, no.
Okay.
No, it's like, what if I were lovable just as I am? Like,
Yeah.
all my flaws included. And I'm not saying we don't find ways to adapt those things and grow. I mean, Rebecca and I are always talking about being transformed by the renewing of your mind. Like, how you are choosing to live your life is impacting how you are living your life. How you are
Yeah.
thinking about living your life is impacting how you live your life. Like, all
Hmm.
these different things are constantly playing into it. So we're not saying, oh, now you're just going to stay and be stagnant and never do anything else.
Yeah.
But there is something about allowing ourselves to love ourselves right where we are that I think starts the ball rolling. Because I think you and I have talked about how difficult it is to love ourselves. And yet, if we can't love ourselves, how can we love other people? And I
Yeah.
think you actually had more thoughts on that.
I do. When you and I were talking about unconditional love, I had been further processing that conversation, and I had been chatting with a friend, and I was talking about the fact that I have begun to really understand
Yeah.
the concept that if I don't love myself unconditionally, it's
Mm-hmm.
very hard for other people to love me unconditionally. And it
Ooh,
isn't because they're not capable of it. It's
right.
because I'm not able to receive it.
Right.
Because how can I believe and truly accept that other people love me
Yeah.
unconditionally? How can I accept someone else's unconditional love of who I am
Mm-hmm.
if I don't actually love and accept myself unconditionally?
Yeah.
And again, I'm not, like you said, we're not saying that you aren't growing, that you aren't changing, that you aren't becoming the best version of yourself possible.
Right.
Accepting who you are isn't giving yourself permission to not deal with your baggage.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Right?
Right.
It's not going, I love myself just how I am, and I'm allowed to go and yell at whoever I want to. No,
Right.
that's just unhealthy.
Right.
But unconditional love, is like you said, loving without agenda. So looking at myself and saying, hey, on this imperfect journey that I'm on,
Yeah.
I'm learning to love me where I'm at. And
Yeah.
that doesn't mean I'm not working towards being better in the areas that I know I want to improve, but it does mean I'm not berating myself, filling myself with shame and guilt for the mistakes that I make, beating myself up when I am imperfect, because loving myself doesn't mean I'm suddenly this perfect being. It just means I actually like myself. Like,
Yeah.
I really like who I am.
Right.
And how much easier is it then for other people to really like me? Because I really
Mm-hmm.
like me. I can accept that they really like me. It's this idea of like we are being crippled if we're living without unconditional love, I think is true. I also think that it starts internally. I'm
Yes.
crippling myself if I cannot learn to love myself unconditionally. And I'm
Well,
crippling the people around me if I can't learn to love myself unconditionally. Because again, how can I love someone else unconditionally if I truly don't like who I am?
yeah. Well, and I think, sorry, I don't know if the thought that I had is going to come back, but I think one of the challenges with loving ourselves unconditionally, and I think this is maybe why it can feel like maybe it's easier to love other people, is we live with ourselves all the time. We know every thought that we're
Right.
having. We know
That's true.
every little thing that we've done. We've got the full record. And unless you're very grandiose and narcissistic, you're seeing those things. And I think even if even if you are grandiose, I think you're seeing those things. You're just actively choosing to ignore them and pretend you don't do them. Um,
Okay.
but most of us are seeing those things and like, oh, well, man, I did this thing. How could I ever be loved? Whereas when we see
Right.
other people, I think on the surface, it can seem easier to love them because we don't see all of their actions. We don't see all of their thoughts. We don't
Yeah.
experience them. Even if
Yeah.
it's your life partner and you're with them most of the
That
time,
makes sense.
the only person you're with is you all the time. You don't get to get away from you, which I think makes it that much more critical to love yourself because like you said,
Mm.
and I was thinking the opposite of what you had said. You had said it's hard for other people to love us because we're not in a place to accept that love or believe that love. But I was also thinking about our ability to love others is also restricted and kind of restrained, kind of
Right.
strangled in the stranglehold of our ability to love them because if we're so fixated on all of our flaws, it's hard
Yeah.
for us to embrace the beauty of other people. Um,
Yeah.
but that's where that the love is just so powerful because it's like, what if you could love yourself? What if loving yourself wasn't work? What if it was sinking into a place of light, a place of just like floating on this beautiful lake that's the perfect temperature and that what's around you is this perfect scenery? What if that moment everything felt right and it felt like there was no responsibility, there was no dinner to make, or decision to make what to make dinner.
Right.
For dinner. There was no one yelling at you. There was no demands on you. There was no, you have to do this thing or that thing. Like, when I mentally think about being in that kind of a place, inside within myself, it's like all of a sudden, literally all the worries and anxieties fade. They don't go away as in, oh, everything's fixed. But there is something that aligns within myself that it's like, oh, I can actually flow from this place of being. Where it's like, when my decisions and my life is led from that place of love. And I do not feel that I have adequate vocabulary to even articulate the power and the sensation of love. Of just pure, unconditional, no restraints, no agenda, no demands, love. Like, I think it's very, very hard for us to imagine.
Yeah.
And I think part of the problem with that is we have very little experiential evidence to be like, oh, that is unconditional love. I think we have very rare moments where we experience that. But I would encourage everyone to take a moment and be like, where's a moment where I felt loved and accepted for who I am without needing to perform? Maybe it's your grandma. Maybe you got a mean grandma, and so it's not her. maybe it's your kids. Maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe it's a moment with your puppy.
Yeah.
I don't think that's as nice as another human, but it's pretty great. So what is that moment where you just felt like, yes, I'm loved and I'm safe and I'm whole, and if nothing ever changes, I'm still loved.
Yeah.
Even though I want things to change. If they didn't, I'm still loved. Yeah, so I just encourage everybody to take a minute, let you think about that, and then just notice what happens in your body when you feel that. Whether it's like a warm cup of tea, whether it's like a warm hug, whether it's whatever it is for you, whatever feels good for you, that feels complete and accepting, that it's like, I really am loved. I really am valuable.
Yeah.
So, those are some of my thoughts on it.
That's good.
And I don't feel like I can, I really truly don't feel like I can do it justice, because I think it's so much bigger, so much brighter, so much more powerful, so much more unassuming than any words I could give it.
Yeah.
To describe it.
And I think I'm aware that there's a lot that goes into this conversation that we aren't saying. You know, a lot of discovery, a lot of journey, a lot of practice, a lot of insecurity, you know, all the moving pieces that everybody experiences in life, I think go into, at least for Rachel and I, arriving at a conclusion of like, wow, without unconditional love, we are dying a little bit inside. We are being crippled without this idea of unconditional love, without having it, without experiencing it. And even for me, arriving at the place where I'm like, I think that you need to unconditionally love yourself, and realizing how important it is to find people in your life who do their best to offer you unconditional love. And noticing, if you take a moment to pause and think about what it would feel like, actually knowing, well, what would it feel like? Like, if you don't think you've ever experienced it, what would it feel like if you did? And as Rachel said, if you pause and find the moments when you did experience it, what did it feel like? You know, because I think knowing what something feels like makes it easier to identify, I'm not experiencing that right now in this season. You know, where am I going to find that sensation or find that connection, find that reality? And when you are experiencing it, to be able to stop and say, hey, life might be hard right now, but I have in my life, for me, contentment and a sense of unrealistic peace that comes from knowing unconditional love, me for myself, towards myself, and from the people in my life who happen to offer me that. I think I think it can be easy to go through life and not actually take a moment to pause and identify where you are experiencing unconditional love, which is interesting. But
I agree. I agree. Yes. So go take a moment with yourself. If you didn't already do it, maybe you
yes,
did it while you were watching this. And let yourself sink into that and connect to that thing, and then let yourself connect back to it. Try and do it once a day. Do it once a day for a week.
yeah,
Just do it for once a day for a week and connect to that sensation and see how it feels. And then if you like it, keep going. So
definitely,
yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Practical things.
Huzzah.
Well, thank you guys always for joining us. We are Remarkably Luminous, and we like to have conversations.
Yes, we do.